What's going on, everyone? This is the Ask Dr. Khan show. Today is episode 112. I'm excited to be going over with you the most exciting part for me about the brain. And in the past few weeks, we've been talking about how brain function and can be affected by fuel delivery problems, can be affected by activation problems, can be affected by inflammation. We talked about frontal lobe, how the frontal lobe is the executive function. It controls cognition and emotion. So let's review previous week. We have the brain here. We have talked about frontal lobe. This part of the brain controls cognition and emotion. Problem in this area of the brain can cause brain fog, fatigue, inability to concentrate, inability to control impulses like kids with ADHD, even an adult with attention deficit. We also have this part of the brain called parietal lobe. The parietal lobe is a part of the brain that's the sensory cortex. This controls sensation. Problem in this part of the brain can cause hypersensitivity to pain, like fibromyalgia. Can also cause problem with spatial orientation. You may bump into things easier, may park your car crooked, you may have trouble with even mathematical calculations or even verbal understanding. This area of the brain called the temporal lobe, which we cover in the last episode at the Ask Dr. Khan show. And this area of the brain controls memory and sleep-wake cycle. Problem here can cause short-term memory loss, inability to remember people's name or get lost easily. Problem with the temporal can also cause circadian rhythm dysfunction, so you may have insomnia, difficulty falling asleep, or staying asleep. So those are the three areas of the brain we have covered in the past 3 weeks. So to continue with this series on brain, today we're going to talk about another very important part of the brain. And now we're going to move from the cortex down to the brain stem. That's in the stem part of the brain. In this part of the brain, we have 3 sections. This is obviously not to scale. So this is the brain stem. The whole section here, from here to here. And we're going to talk specifically today about this first section in the brain stem. And that's called the midbrain. Midbrain. Another name for the midbrain, which is this section right here, it's called the mesencephalon. Mesencephalon. It's another name for it. Okay. Now, why is this part of the brain important? Well, this is the part of the brain stem that's basically where the autonomic nervous system originates. So, autonomic nervous system is that part of your brain that controls everything that's on autopilot. What are some of these things that are on autopilot? Well, for example, digestion is on autopilot, right? You don't eat something today and tell your stomach to go ahead and digest the food that you eat. It's done on autopilot. It's controlled by that part of the nervous system that controls everything that's you can't consciously control, like blood pressure, like digestion, like temperature regulation, okay, like heartbeat. These are things that you cannot consciously control. So the autonomic nervous system is that part of the brain that controls your life, your survivability, right? So this part of the nervous system, part of that originates in the midbrain. Now there's 2 branches to the autonomic nervous system. We have a sympathetic nervous system, and we have the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is the gas pedal of the autonomic nervous system. So this is the part of the brain that stimulates fight or flight response. Fight or flight means that when you can encounter a danger or a tiger in the woods or a bear in the woods, that your body goes into freak out mode, right? It does several things to trigger this fight or flight mode through the sympathetic nervous system, which is really originates in the midbrain or the mesencephalon. Some of these physiological response to fight or flight is increase in the heart rate. Your heart rate starts beating faster. Oh my God, you freak out, right? Your blood pressure will increase. Normal, because you want your blood pressure to be up so you can deliver blood to your working skeletal muscle so you can fight the tiger or the bear, or run away from the bear, or you become lunch. So that's the normal response when you're in a fight or flight situation. Also, your pupil will dilate, increase pupil size. Why? When you're stressed, when you're in fight or flight, your pupil dilate to let more light in so you can see better. You can see the threat better. That's also an important part. Another thing that increases when you're in fight or flight is that your blood flow, blood goes to muscle. Your blood is shunted through the action of capillaries and pressure to push the blood into your skeletal muscle, like in your arms and your legs, so you can fight or flight, run away or fight the tiger. So what that means is if the blood is all going to your muscle, guess where it's not going? It's not going to your organs. So usually when you're in fight or flight, blood goes to the muscle, away from the organ. So what happens is organ function like digestion is compromised. Organ function like reproduction, sexual desire is compromised. Because during fight or flight, when it's life and death situation, it's not very important to think about sex or to make babies. It's more important to get away from the tiger so you can survive, and then you can think about making babies later, right? It's not important to digest that food that you just ate when you're in fight or flight. It's more important that you run away from the tiger and then figure out how you're going to eat or digest food when you survive the attack. So this is what happens, some of the things that happen, okay? You're sweating, increased sweating, also increases. These are all autonomic nervous system function. So when you're in fight or flight, these things are increased. On the other hand, when you're in parasympathetic mode, this is the gas pedal, this is the brake pedal. Meaning, if you speed it up, you better be able to slow it down too, right? Everything in the body is a balance, right? That's why it's called homeostasis. Your body is always trying to reach balance, but it's never statically in balance. Your body's never just at rest. It's either fight or flight, or parasympathetic, or relax and digest, okay? So this is fight or flight, and we call this side relax and digest, right? You're either in fight or flight mode, or you relax and digest, right? So gas pedal, brake pedal. Your body's never like neutral, idle, at rest. What it's doing is, it's gas pedal, brake pedal, gas pedal, brake pedal. It's always fluxing, balance between the two. It's always constantly doing this. But what happens, what you want in someone that's calm, what happens, your body's always is doing this and not fluctuating very much. In people who are not very calm, or life is really hectic, or they're really inflamed, their body goes in fight or flight, and they may crash, fight or flight, crash. This up and down makes them feel lousy. So people who are balanced in function, their system is like this. You want it to be balanced. That's why we call it health. It's a state of balance, okay? So we have the fight or flight mode, we have the relax and digest mode. The fight or flight is mediated, sympathetic is controlled by the mesencephalon. That's where that fight or flight originates. Where the parasympathetic kind of comes from your vagus nerve, so this cranial nerve 10, your medulla oblongata, which is actually this part of the brain, and some in the pontine area controls your parasympathetic. So bottom line is, we're talking about sympathetic here, which is the fight or flight response. It starts here. Now, why is that important for you to know? Because I can tell you that from experience, clinical practice, working with over 5,000 clients, most people are stuck in a fight or flight mode. That means their sympathetic nervous system is just activated all the time because of stress, because of poor diet, because of processed food, chemical in our environment, environmental chemical toxins, chronic infections, that I mentioned stress, right? From family, job, kids. Our modern humans is constantly in fight or flight. In fact, it's almost like we're adrenaline junkies. We go seek out experiences that give us more fight or flight. We drink beverages that give us fight or flight. Like caffeine is a stimulant that stimulates the sympathetic nervous system. So we seek out these experiences that make us to be more in fight or flight, and almost to the point where we're stepping on the gas pedal all the time. We don't even know how to step on the brake pedal. We don't even have a brake pedal. It's like a runaway train with nothing to stop it. So we're just running ourselves. And eventually we get these problems, and you wonder why blood pressure's up. People get heart attack. People stress themselves out, nervous breakdown, and the nervous system just get out of balance, and that can eventually trigger autoimmune. Speaking of autoimmune, this has a lot of applications. So most people think autoimmune disease is something where, oh, I'm just eating poorly. If I can change my diet, I'll fix my autoimmune. Well, there's a neurological cause for autoimmune and inflammation, and that has to do with this mesencephalon. So pay attention here. This is a concept that's so important. Most natural alternative practitioners are not aware of this, and most Western practitioners are completely ignorant of this fact. That the midbrain, because it handles fight or flight, one of the reasons why you're in fight or flight because you're injured, right? So what happens is, if you become inflamed, because during a chase, right, where a bear or a tiger is chasing you, like a life and death situation, like say you're a caveman, you encounter a predator is trying to eat you, you may be having a fight or trying to run away. You may get scratched or injured by the predator. You may have inflammation, an injury. What happens is the midbrain, this part of the brain, is loaded with sensors, chemical receptors for inflammatory cytokine. Inflammatory cytokines. Cytokines are chemical messengers that trigger inflammation. The midbrain area in your brain are loaded with sensors for inflammatory cytokines. Why? Because when you're injured, these inflammation chemicals will circulate throughout your blood, and as they circulate to the brain, the sensor will tell the brain, well, your brain will say, wow, we have a lot of inflammation chemical. I must be injured. Let's trigger fight or flight. So inflammation can cause your brain to trigger a neurological response that's a fight or flight response. This is called neurogenic inflammation. Again, neurogenic inflammation. That means literally your brain can trigger an inflammation response. An inflammation response can trigger a brain response and vice versa. It's a vicious cycle. So some people become chronically inflamed because they're stressed. Now, remember, this fight or flight response doesn't have to be an actual tiger chasing you. It could be a paper tiger. What do I mean by that? That means a deadline to your brain is perceived as stress, and it triggers the same fight or flight response, whether you're chased by a tiger or a paper tiger, like a deadline, or your boss is putting pressure on you, or you have a fight with your spouse. It all triggers the same fight or flight response. See, stress is what your brain perceives. Whether it's real or imagined, doesn't matter. If you perceive stress, you can make yourself anxious too, right? You can be a stressful person where you just see everything as stressful. So that's why perspective is so important as part of health. That's why meditation helps. So when you're stressed mentally, you can actually trigger this fight or flight response. The more fight or flight response you get, this can actually cause your body to release inflammatory cytokines. So the stress itself can cause your body your immune system to release more inflammation chemicals. This inflammation chemical can trigger this part of the brain to get more fight or flight. And more fight or flight trigger more inflammatory cytokine, and you see that vicious cycle. So literally, that's called neurogenic inflammation, where stress can cause you to become inflamed. So here are people say, I'm really inflamed. My joints always stiff and swollen. I have pain everywhere. It could be that neurologically, your brain is stepping on the gas pedal so much on fight or flight, and you throw gas on fire with caffeine, and you throw gas on fire with processed food and chemicals, and become more inflamed. And this fight or flight response trigger inflammation. Inflammation triggers more fight or flight response. Or you could be, you don't have a fight, you're not in fight or flight, you're calm. However, you have a lot of chemicals, you're toxic, you have inflammation, you have chronic infection, and these things are triggering inflammation from some type of infection or toxin, some environmental source. And the inflammation from those chronic toxins and infection can trigger your brain to release a fight or flight response. So now you feel anxious, you feel your blood pressure's up, you feel like you're nervous and you can't sleep because you're inflamed. That's triggering a neurological response. So let me say it this way. Stress itself, mental stress, can trigger a chemical response. So stress, which triggers a neurological response, fight or flight, through the sympathetic nervous system, stress can trigger inflammation. Now, if you're not stressed, but you're just inflamed, that can trigger stress and anxiety because that inflammation can then trigger a fight or flight response. It's a vicious cycle. So we must identify the root cause by identifying what's causing this fight or flight response. It could be your lifestyle. It could be your perspective, right? You're not managing stress well. You need to say no to certain things in your life so you can cut out the stress. It could be some type of infection. It could be a food that you're eating that you're sensitive to. It could be leaky gut. It could be toxins, heavy metal toxins, plastic, phthalates, fire retardant material, everything that's in our environment. So that's why we have a holistic program that helps you identify all these different factors and design a customized plan, a customized eating plan, customized supplementation plan, and customized detoxification plan to address the totality of the person so that your brain and your body can start to heal and recover. So this is such a big topic because this can show up in so many different ways where people go to the doctor, Doc, I feel like I have heart palpitation. And the doctor said, I got to send you to the cardiologist. Well, it had nothing to do with your heart. It's because you're in fight or flight. It's your brain sending a signal to your heart to go fast. It has nothing to do with the heart. Seeing a cardiologist won't help you. It's a neurological response. Or, my heart's going so fast. Doctor said, oh, maybe it's your thyroid. It may be nothing to do with your thyroid, right? See, heart palpitation is a symptom. What's the cause? Must identify the cause. This neurological connection could be a cause. Now then you go to your doctor and say, my blood pressure is high too. Well, gee, you need blood pressure medication. Well, what's causing the blood pressure to be high? I don't know. The doctor say, I don't know, I don't care. Just take this blood pressure medication. So now you're taking blood pressure medication when what's causing it could be fight or flight response, or it could be the inflammation that's driving the fight or flight response. Without addressing the inflammation, the blood pressure medication is a temporary solution, a Band-Aid that you have to take for the rest of your life. This is how people get hooked on 5, 10 different medications with no explanation why they're taking it, and these medications are causing other side effects that's therefore impairing your health. Then you have pupil size that's increased. What happens when pupil size go up? Too much light comes in, and that bombards your brain, so you get migraines. So now you're, oh man, I'm sensitive to light and sound, I get migraines. Why? Because you're in fight or flight. That's why you have the migraine. So, we're going to give you medication for the migraine. We're going to give you a pain pill for the migraine. But what's causing the migraine? Could be because you have imbalance within your autonomic nervous system where you can't regulate your pupil size because you're inflamed or you have neurological imbalance. So taking migraine medication won't do anything, or it's a temporary Band-Aid until you address that. Now you have blood that goes to the muscle, which means the blood's not going to your gut. So now you can't digest food. You have gas, bloating, reflux, dysbiosis, SIBO, all kinds of stuff from not being able to digest food. You have candida, you have yeast, you're told you have SIBO, you're told you have IBS, you're told you have all these digestive problems, even leaky gut. Well, what could be causing that? Well, if your blood's not going to the gut, you can't digest, you can't make secretions, you can't make gastric enzymes, you're not digesting food, and that's why you have a gut infection that you can't clear because you have this fight or flight response. It's so big because most people are trying to take something for the gut when maybe we should be working on this neurological imbalance. And there's specific exercise you can do, and we can talk about that. Then you may have increased sweating. Man, I sweat all the time. Some people even go as far as having the nerve that stimulates sweating, or the sweat gland itself, surgically removed or cauterized so they're not sweating. What the heck is that about? That's a temporary solution. That's about as Band-Aid as a Band-Aid gets. What's causing the sweating? Don't know, don't care. Just cut it out. That's not a solution. You need to find out why. Some people get POTS, postural orthostatic hypotension syndrome, where your blood pressure drops It's because of autonomic nervous system imbalance. So you go to the doctor, you have POTS, so we're going to put you on beta blocker, blood pressure medication to kind of get that pressure up. Band-Aid, need to address the underlying reason why. So I just named a bunch of different conditions because I see those people come into my office and they're not getting solution from Western medicine and not from natural alternative medicine because they're not understanding neurology and able to integrate neurology with functional medicine. And that's the uniqueness of what we do. In understanding the whole concept, you must address the whole person. So hope this helps you. Again, this is Dr. Khan. We work with clients remotely through Skype consultations. So if doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can have a consult with us. You can call 480-988-6269 to schedule that. Or you can private message us on Facebook, and we can help you to get started. We can also email us at info@askdrkhan.com. Now, if you feel like this video was helpful, please like and share with as many people as possible. People need to hear this. This is so important. This is a topic that's really one of my favorite topics, the autonomic nervous system. But it has wide-ranging implications for different conditions that people may have, as far as anxiety, blood pressure issues, migraine headaches, digestion issues. It has so many implications. It can actually lead to inflammatory cytokines, and the inflammation can start to cause more inflammation and chronic pain and even leaky gut and even autoimmune disease. This can lead to so many different things, but the answer could be so simple if you know how to interpret it. And so if you need help, give us a call. We can get on the phone with you, kind of walk you through it, see what kind of symptom you have, and let you know if our program can help you. Contact us. We'd love to talk to you. And please share and like this video. And stay tuned for next week in the Ask Dr. Khan show, where we continue to explore the brainstem. If you thought the midbrain was interesting, wait till we get to the other parts. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.